All right, folks, let's talk about the absolute chaos unfolding in Washington, D.C. right now. What could be called the Musk-Trump purge? Is it bureaucracy or blood sport? Over the weekend, Elon Musk, yes, that Elon Musk, sent out an email to 2.3 million federal employees demanding they list 5 things they did last week. If they didn't respond, it would be considered a resignation. What followed was a bureaucratic meltdown. Agencies scrambled to tell employees to ignore it. Musk doubled down, Trump chimed in, and now we're in a full-blown shortages employment territory where you simultaneously are working for the government and fired at the same time. But let's back up and hit the timeline real quick. So Saturday afternoon, Musk tweets, or whatever you call an X, Musk tweets that all federal employees will be asked to justify what they did last week. Failure to respond would be a resignation. So Saturday night, OPM sends out the infamous email. Subject, what did you do last week? Musk's tweet preceded this, making it absolutely clear that the directive was his idea, not some internal bureaucratic decision. Sunday afternoon, or Sunday evening, I should say, and Monday morning, federal agencies scrambled, some telling employees to ignore the email, others wait for further guidance. Then Monday night, Trump jumps in, says it's a good idea because we don't know if these people even exist. Then Tuesday, after the deadline passed, Musk doubles down. Failure to respond a second time means termination subject to the discretion of the president. So now we're at a crossroads. Is this a genuine bureaucratic reform, or is it a massive authoritarian purge of the federal workforce? Let's break down the real reasons behind it, and I'm going to start with the most obvious. This is the setup for the mass firings disguised as efficiency. This isn't about accountability. It's bureaucratic entrapment. If you respond, congrats. You've just confirmed your existence on Musk's hit list. If you don't respond, poof, you have been resigned. But here's the real kicker. If your response is too vague, you're flagged as not doing your job, and you've CC'd your manager, meaning that if your work is inadequate, your manager must not be doing their job either. That's a 2-for-1 firing special, targeting the employers and the leadership all at once. Second reason, this is one I think is the most important one. This is pure harassment to force resignations. This is workplace bullying at a national scale. The real play isn't about firing people. It's making them so miserable, so paranoid that they quit on their own. No messy HR battles, no legal fights, just thousands of civil servants throwing their hands up and walking away. So what's a third possibility? Well, this could be a federal worker loyalty test. Make no mistake, this is also a political purge disguised as accountability. This is the first step in identifying which federal employees are loyal to the regime and which ones may resist the coming power grab. Those who comply, well, they stay for now. Those who don't, expect them to be quietly removed. Is this also a possible stress test for Musk's power? I think so. Musk wants to see how far he can push this before people push back, including Trump. If an agency caves, Musk owns them. If Trump lets them do this unchecked, Musk now knows that he can run the government like he runs X. This is a power play, plain and simple. However, could this also be a deliberate distraction for more consequential moves? Yeah, because chaos is the strategy. While we are all arguing about, this email, what executive orders, what budget cuts, what agency overhauls are happening behind the scenes? Stephen Bannon literally told us the plan. Flood the zone with shit so no one can focus on the real power grabs. Now, some people are just saying this is actually a great move. But you know what? Let's play devil's advocate and hear them out. Then I'll rip apart their argument. The first argument I've heard is bureaucratic accountability is overdue. The government is bloated. It's good to force employees to justify their jobs. My thoughts on this, if there really was these actual ghost employees, wouldn't the Inspector General or the GAO have flagged them by now? This is just a fake crisis to justify a real purge. The second argument, it's just a simple question. If federal workers can't answer what they did last week, that's a problem. Well, you know what? That's BS. Are you really expecting air traffic controllers to tell you the number of flights they successfully brought in? Should Chief Justice Roberts tell us what he did for America last week? Now I think about it, I kind of like to know. But, is all the legislative branch also government employees? Did they get the email? Okay, enough with all that. If this was really about productivity, why not just ask the agencies? Why not ask the supervisors? Why make it an unverified, chaotic mess? The reason? Because chaos is the point. The third argument that I've heard is, this is how you can actually make government more efficient. Musk is bringing innovation. The government should be run like a business. Yeah, my thoughts are this. First off, I don't want Trump running any of my businesses. I mean, there's a number of times he's been bankrupt, but that's a different argument. My thoughts is this. The government isn't a startup. Public service doesn't operate on profit margins. If you privatize government functions, you replace accountability with corruption. See Blackwater, Halliburton, and every government contractor scandal we've ever had. Oh, all right. So now let's put on our tin hats because that's what I'm trying to do. What is the least likely? Well, I don't like to, but I kind of call this the federal workers' Squid game. This is a manufactured test of compliance. First, and most people don't know this, they actually set up an email box that if you see like DEI happening, that you can anonymously report it. So first, they ask for anonymous DEI reports. That was task number one. Then they demanded federal employees justify their jobs. That's task number two. What about number three? What could that be? Well, maybe it's a who do you work with directive. Employees will be asked to list their closest coworkers or who they work with most often. This maps out networks of influence within agencies. Who is protecting who, which employees are critical linchpins, and where loyalty clusters exist. Once that target list is complete, the next wave of termination focuses on those with the most influence. Not just the weak ones, but those are the ones who can actually organize resistance. Next step, a public loyalty pledge. Employees could be required to sign a public statement of support for the administration's policies. But who am I kidding? It'd be a loyalty pledge to the king. Those who refused, well, that's the final purge. But what if all these are wrong, or at least they are smoke in a deception operation? What if Musk is just executing some type of data harvesting operation? What if this was never about firing people, but about harvesting data? What work gets done, what agencies do what jobs could be replaced with AI, what departments could be privatized and sold? Musk's real business right now is data collection. This email just forced 2.3 million people to tell him exactly what they do. If you're planning to dismantle the federal government and sell off pieces, wouldn't this be step one? So is this just bureaucratic misstep? Or is this the opening act to something much darker? Please let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to read my daily post about the Trump dismantling of democracy. Prefer to listen? Check me out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts underneath The Chuck Kyle Show. Thanks again for tuning in.